Hello, and thank you for taking the time to join us today. My name is Lina, and I work with Islamic Family as the Research and Programs Director. I'm going to turn things over to Fatima to introduce herself and start us off for today.
Peace and blessings, everyone. My name is Fatima Dini, and I'm the Building Roots Lead at Islamic Family. We would like to start with a prayer for the people and the land.
Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most gracious, the most merciful. We thank God for his graciousness and mercy with us and those who have come before us, and ask that he bless this gathering and the land upon which this gathering is held. A land we recognize as the ancestral land of the indigenous people, the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, Ojibwa, Saulteaux, Anishinaabe, Inuit, and many others to whom we are bound by treaty, our shared humanity, and a sacred call to brotherhood, sisterhood, and civic duty. May God in his graciousness and mercy support us all in our work upon this land and with each other.
So a few housekeeping items before we start this presentation today. First, we would like to remind you that we're all here to work together and to accomplish our mutual aim of supporting people in crisis. That being said, as an association, we acknowledge that we have a limitation of the support we can provide, and we're upfront with them. Today, our focus will be on providing general information on the sponsorship process and the eligibility requirement. So if you have any questions, please use the YouTube live chat box on the right-hand side, and we will do our best to answer them at the end of this presentation. If we don't get the chance to answer your question, please check the frequently asked questions section on our website, or email us at refugee@islamicfamily.ca. Impark. So last year, we introduced a new sponsorship management platform called Impark, and we're going to walk you through the process today. The Islamic Family Sponsorship application is now open for 2023. You can find the application on our website at www.islamicfamily.ca/sponsorship. The last date for submission is March 16, 2023. This is a strict deadline, and it is to allow our committee sufficient time to process the applications. So what is Impark? The new tool we introduced last year is now called Impark. We made this shift last year to effectively manage our sponsorship application and to easily adapt to the new RCC, which stands for Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada, guidelines and requirements. You can navigate to Impark directly from our website. We have an online video posted on our website that will help you navigate the system. First, you will be asked to create a username and a password, and we would like to remind you that you will use the same username and password to access the site regularly, so please keep it safe and to stay updated on your application progress. So what does Impark do? So Impark has many features. We customize it to fit our needs as a sponsorship agreement holder. For now, the site allows you to determine your eligibility for sponsorship and to complete and submit applications. If you're eligible, you will be approved for a sponsorship. This will allow you to use the site and to work on the RCC applications, communicate with volunteers and staff, track your application progress, submit documents, and complete post-arrival tasks. After the refugee arrives, you will be provided with a checklist of settlement tasks that need to be completed, and you will be able to submit proof of completion through the website as well. And now I'll pass things to Lina.
Thank you, Fatima. So I'm going to be going over the sponsorship process and how we do things at Islamic Family. So just digging a little bit deeper in the sponsorship process, the process for us starts with the submission of the application. So that's the application that's open right now. And the application includes questions about you, the co-sponsor, who's based in Edmonton, and the refugees that you're hoping to sponsor. It's going to walk you through the settlement planning that you're going to be doing when the refugee arrives in Edmonton. The next step in the process is the initial review. So all submitted applications are then reviewed to ensure eligibility and to ensure that they meet the IRCC requirements. We ask that you be truthful in the submissions that you're sending in because this will help us determine if you're even eligible for sponsorship. The system lets you know if the information that you're submitting makes you ineligible. So if that is the case, please do not proceed with submitting the application because you will be dismissed later on. Unless your conditions have changed. And if that's the case, then please do reach out to us. Our email, you'll see it at the end again, is refugee@islamicfamily.ca. Step 3 in the process is where all eligible applications, so applications that meet the IRCC requirements, are handed over to an external committee for review. The committee determines which applications will be approved for sponsorship that year. And this depends on which ones rank the highest and the allocation that we get for that year. They look at a few things when they assess your application. So they're going to be looking at the refugee's needs and you, the sponsor, and your capabilities, your ability to provide settlement and financial support. Staff and volunteers at Islamic Family are not involved in this part of the process or in the decision-making. And there are no exceptions to this. So all applicants will be informed once their application has been reviewed and either approved or rejected for the year. The 4th step in the process is for approved co-sponsors to be able to submit their applications, the IRCC application package. This is done with the help of both trained volunteers and staff members who will be helping you review your applications, submitting them to the IRCC, offering feedback on the content that you include. And this is a very lengthy process, so we ask you to be very patient with us as we complete it. You will be notified when the IRCC requests any additional information, when they approve your application, or if there is a rejection for any reason. You'll also be asked to deposit the costs for 1 year of sponsorship with Islamic Family. This amount is kept in trust with us and is dispersed to the refugee or refugees when they come in monthly installments. So they will be receiving monthly payments directly from us when they arrive. Once an application is approved by the IRCC, the application is usually sent to an overseas office. The visa office will be conducting interviews with the refugees, and they are the ones who will determine final eligibility. So they will make sure that the refugees are actually eligible to be sponsored. The refugees will also be undergoing medical and security checks before they're given the travel date and before they're able to come. This process can take several years for it to be completed, so please keep that in mind. I do want to show a little bit of the financial support calculator. So you're seeing a screenshot of it here, and you can find it on the RSTP website. RSTP stands for the Refugee Sponsorship Training Program. This calculator is very helpful because it helps you calculate the costs that you will be incurring by going through a sponsorship. So if you're a sponsor based in the Edmonton area, this calculator will help you determine the amount that you will likely need to sponsor the refugees that you have in mind. It'll depend on their ages, their needs, and any specialized needs that they may have. Please also keep in mind that this amount will increase by the time the refugees arrive because there's a few years of gap between now and then. If there is a new baby that's born into the family, if someone gets married, you will also be liable for the additional costs associated with those individuals. The final step in the process happens post-arrival, so after the newcomers have arrived in Edmonton, and that's when the bulk of your role as a sponsor begins. You will be responsible for supporting their resettlement. After they arrive, you will track the progress of their resettlement tasks, and we will be asking you for documentation to prove that certain tasks have been completed. Sponsors are required to complete all post-arrival tasks and check-ins with Islamic Family. This helps us ensure that we're meeting IRCC requirements and make sure that the newcomers in Canada are well taken care of and their needs are met. The documentation we'll be asking you for is going to include things like the social insurance number, healthcare card, PR card, to make sure that all those have been completed, but also things like orienting the newcomers to Edmonton and to their new home and registering them in programs and classes as needed. So I'm going to touch very quickly on eligibility. A few things to keep in mind here for who can apply for sponsorship. So we're looking at eligibility for the co-sponsor, and we're looking at eligibility for the refugees. I'm going to start with the co-sponsors first. So you as a co-sponsor who's based in Edmonton, you can only apply if you're based in the Edmonton area. We're not able to accept applications from anywhere else in Canada. And we also do not accept applications from refugees directly. Any applications that are submitted directly from a refugee will have to be dismissed because we're not able to accept them in that way. Co-sponsors have to have the ability to also undertake the financial and settlement responsibilities of the sponsorship. As you go through the application, you will be asked to make that calculation for the finances, and the settlement responsibilities will also be explained to you. You will be asked to provide that full cost, like I said, to be placed in trust with us, and the settlement needs will be met during the family's first year in Canada. So moving over to the refugees that you're sponsoring, the refugees have to meet, they also have a set of criteria that they need to meet. So they have to either be a convention refugee abroad or a country of asylum class refugee. I'll go over both of those and what they mean. So a country of asylum refugee is someone who continues to be seriously affected by civil war, by armed conflict, or by serious human rights violations. A convention refugee is someone who has a well-founded fear of persecution for reasons like race, religion, nationality, or membership in a particular social or political group. In both of these cases, the refugee has to be living somewhere outside of Canada, but also outside of their country of origin and their country of habitual residence. So country of origin is where they were born, where they've lived their whole lives. Country of habitual residence is very similar. It's where they spent a big part of their lives, a significant period of time, to the point where it's not a country where they're refugees. The refugee also has to have an inability to integrate where they are right now, and have no durable solution. A durable solution is something where they can find safety, they can find security, they're able to integrate, work, live in the area that they're based in. And they have to be able to successfully resettle in Canada. So we touched on a lot of different things. This is the end of our formal presentation for today. We're going to address any questions from you. If you do have any questions, please leave them in the chat box on YouTube Live. If you have any questions later on that are case specific or you'd rather address privately, you're welcome to email us at refugee@islamicfamily.ca and we would be happy to help you. So I'll just give it a few minutes to see if any questions come in.
I can start with questions that we frequently receive. So the first one says, if I did submit an application last year, can the application be transferred or do I need to submit a new application this year?
So anyone who submitted an application last year would have to resubmit this year. We do ask for new applications because circumstances change in that period of time. We also update our questions and the things that we're asking for. So we do ask that you submit a new application. If you have the information from the old one and a lot of it is still accurate, you're welcome to still include that, but please include any up-to-date information that has happened between then and now.
Okay. The second question says, when applying, do we account for children under 6 years old?
Yeah, so everyone in the family should be included in your calculation. If you are aware that someone in the family is pregnant or married recently, the spouses and children should all be included. If those things happen later on, like I said, you would still be liable for them as part of the sponsorship. So for instance, if someone in the family gets married after the application is submitted, you are still required to sponsor that additional individual. If a child is born in the family, you're also required to add them into the sponsorship. And add the costs for them.
Thank you. I'm new to Canada and I don't speak English, but I live in Edmonton. Can you help me to fill out the application?
So unfortunately, we don't. We do ask that the applications be submitted in English. You're welcome to seek help from others in the community who are connected to you who speak English well and can help you translate. If you would like to ask questions in a language other than English, we are also hosting an in-person session. That's going to be happening on the, Fatima, do you have the details? We can share it.
It's Sunday 26 at noon.
And that will be at the Islamic Family Hub, so at our office. You're welcome to come then. We can answer questions in English, in Arabic, and in Somali.
Okay. How many applications can each person submit?
If you're submitting for one family, put the family under a single application. So a family is parents and children. If you're submitting for multiple families, you're welcome to submit separate applications for them. They would be considered separately. So those would be assessed by the committee as separate applications. We don't have a limit on that, but please submit things that fall within your capacity and that you're able to support.
Thank you. I applied last year for a family and my application was accepted. Can I apply again this year for another family?
Yes, absolutely. So you're able to submit an application again this year. What I would take into account is the finances. So if you applied last year for a family, the family's likely not here yet. So just keep in mind the finances and make sure that it's within a doable range for you and that you're able to support their settlement needs in the event that they maybe come around the same time. I'm not seeing any questions on the chat. I think maybe we'll give it just a few extra minutes, see if anything else comes in. You're welcome to share, like I said, your questions in the chat box, and we can address them. And if you prefer, you can email us at refugee@islamicfamily.ca, or you can attend the in-person session that we're having on the 26th. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions coming in. Thank you so much to those who attended. If you're watching this later on and you have any questions that come up as you're working on your application, please send them to us at refugee@islamicfamily.ca. There is also a lot of helpful information on our website, islamicfamily.ca/sponsorship. You can find a lot of information there about the refugee sponsorship process. There are some helpful videos there and a frequently asked questions section that will answer a lot of the questions that might come up as you're working through the process. Thank you so much for attending.
Salam.